The moment I heard Ryan laugh at my funeral, I knew I'd been a fool. I was standing there, or rather my consciousness was hovering, watching my own memorial service from somewhere between life and death. My body lay cold in that expensive mahogany casket my parents had bankrupted themselves to afford, and there he was. Ryan Mitchell, my husband of 5 years, the man I'd sacrificed everything for, standing in the back corner with his phone pressed to his ear, barely suppressing his amusement. "Yeah, it's finally done," he whispered, not even trying to hide his smirk. "The insurance money hits next week. 2 million. No, she never suspected a thing." My heart, if I still had one, shattered into 1,000 pieces. Victoria Hastings, his secretary, the woman I'd welcomed into our home countless times, materialised beside him. She kissed his cheek. "We can finally be together, baby. No more sneaking around, and with her family's company, shares transferring to you as her widower." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear them apart, but I was already dead. Dead at 28 from what the doctors called a tragic accident, a fall down the stairs in our penthouse. Except it wasn't an accident. The memory came flooding back with cruel clarity. Ryan's hands on my shoulders, the calculated push, my body tumbling, bones cracking against marble. This was the man I dropped out of university for. The man I'd convinced my father to hire at our family's pharmaceutical company, despite having no qualifications. The man I'd stood by when everyone, my parents, my best friend Emma, my colleagues, warned me he was using me. They'd all seen what I refused to. Ryan had never loved me. He'd loved my family's money, our status, the life I could provide. And I'd been so blinded by love that I'd handed him everything on a silver platter, including the keys to my destruction. My parents stood at the front row, destroyed. My father had aged a decade in the week since my death. My mother couldn't stop crying. They'd lost their only daughter and they didn't even know it was murder. The rage inside me was volcanic. As I watched Ryan check his watch, impatient for my funeral to end, so he could celebrate his windfall, something inside me rebelled against death itself. I couldn't accept this. I wouldn't. If I could do it again, I thought desperately, I would never make the same mistakes. I would see him for what he truly is. I would protect my family. I would destroy him before he destroys me. The world went white. I woke up gasping, my heart hammering against my ribs. Sunlight streamed through pink curtains I hadn't seen in over a decade. I bolted upright, my hands flying to my face, my arms, my body. Young, smooth, unmarked by the years of stress and manipulation. My eyes landed on the calendar on my wall. September the 15th, 2015. Impossible. I was 18 again, back in my childhood bedroom, back in my senior year of high school. The memories of my past life remained crystal clear. Every betrayal, every manipulation, every moment of stupidity that had led to my death. But here I was, given an impossible second chance. A knock on my door made me flinch. "Lily, you're going to be late for school!" My mother's voice, young, vibrant, alive, not broken by grief. Tears streamed down my face. She was alive. Dad was alive. I was alive. And I knew exactly what today was. Today was the day I was supposed to slip a love letter into Ryan Mitchell's locker. The beginning of everything. In my previous life, Ryan had found that letter, sought me out, and spent 6 months courting me with practiced charm. By the time I graduated, I was so in love that I'd rejected my acceptance to Cambridge University to stay with him. That single decision had set everything in motion. Not this time. I looked at my desk where the letter sat. Pages of embarrassing, heartfelt confessions I'd spent weeks writing. In my past life, I'd thought it was romantic. Now I saw it for what it was. The first link in the chain that would bind me to my murderer. I grabbed the letter, my hand steady despite the emotions churning inside me. Today, I would change everything. The halls of Westwood Academy buzzed with the familiar chaos of teenage life. Designer backpacks, the latest phones, clusters of students laughing and gossiping. I'd forgotten how young everyone looked, how trivial their concerns seemed. But I wasn't here to reminisce. I was here for war. I spotted him immediately, Ryan Mitchell leaning against his locker with that calculated bad boy slouch that had once made my heart race. Dark hair artfully tousled, leather jacket despite the school's dress code, that smirk that promised danger and excitement. Now I saw through it all. The jacket was a knockoff. His confidence was compensation for coming from the poorest family in our elite private school. And that dangerous edge, it wasn't rebellion. It was predatory calculation. He was already scanning the hallway, eyes lingering on girls from wealthy families. Even at 18, he'd been hunting for his meal ticket. Emma Chen. No, I couldn't use that name. Emma Brooks rushed up to me, her face bright with excitement. Did you do it? Did you give him the letter? Emma, my best friend, who'd tried so hard to warn me about Ryan. In my previous life, I'd cut her off when she refused to support my relationship with him. She'd tried to come to my wedding anyway, but Ryan had her removed from the guest list. I found out years later that she'd tried to visit me dozens of times, but Ryan always turned her away, isolating me from everyone who cared. I looked at her now, 17, loyal, with nothing but love for me in her eyes, and felt my throat tighten. No, I said firmly, I'm not giving it to him. Emma's eyes widened. What? But you've been talking about this for weeks. You said Ryan was... A mistake, I cut her off. He's exactly the kind of guy my parents warned me about, and I'm not interested. The lie came easily. In truth, I was very interested in Ryan Mitchell, just not in the way he expected. Emma looked shocked but relieved. She'd never liked Ryan, even back then. Oh, thank God. Lily, I was so worried. There's something off about him. The way he looks at you, it's not romantic. It's like he's calculating something. Smart girl. She'd seen it all along. You're right, I told her, linking my arm through hers. Come on, let's get to class. And Emma, thank you for always looking out for me. She beamed, confused but happy. As we walked past Ryan's locker, I felt his eyes on me. He'd noticed my attention before. I'd been obvious in my past life, always finding excuses to walk by, to catch his eye. He'd been waiting for that letter, waiting to sink his hooks into the richest girl in school. I didn't even glance his way, but Ryan Mitchell didn't give up easily. By lunch, he'd accidentally bumped into me in the cafeteria. Hey, watch it. Oh! He flashed that rehearsed smile, the one I'd once thought was spontaneous. Sorry, you're Lily Jiang, right? From AP Calculus? I looked at him with cold assessment. I know who you are, Ryan, and I know what you want. His smile faltered for just a fraction of a second. What I want? You're looking for a rich girlfriend, I said bluntly, keeping my voice low enough that only he could hear. Someone whose family can give you the life you think you deserve. You've already tried with Jessica Thompson. She turned you down because her parents ran a background check. Now you're targeting me. The mask slipped. His eyes went hard and calculating. This was the real Ryan, the one I'd only seen in glimpses during our marriage, usually right before he undermined me. That's quite an accusation, he said smoothly, but I could see him reassessing me. It's the truth, I replied. And here's another truth. It's never going to happen. Stay away from me and my family. I walked away, leaving him standing there, his expression caught between confusion and rage. Emma caught up with me, eyes wide. Oh my God, what just happened? What did you say to him? I told him I'm not interested. I smiled at her, and I meant it. If I thought that one confrontation would end things, I was naive. Ryan Mitchell had built his entire high school strategy around landing me, and he didn't adjust plans easily. Over the next few weeks, he tried everything. The accidental encounters, the study group invitations, the sob story about his difficult family situation that was designed to trigger my empathy. In my past life, these tactics had worked beautifully. This time, I saw every manipulation for what it was. What I didn't expect was how desperate he'd become. One afternoon, I found him waiting by my car, the Mercedes my parents had given me for my 18th birthday. "We need to talk," he said, his charm completely abandoned. "No, we don't." "You're making a mistake." His voice was tight with barely controlled anger. "I could be good for you, Lily. I could make you happy." "You could make yourself rich, you mean?" I unlocked my car. "I'm not interested in being anyone's meal ticket, Ryan. Find someone else." His hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. "You think you're so much better than me because you were born with money? You don't know what it's like to have nothing, to watch your parents struggle while people like you throw away more in a month than my family earns in a year." For a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy. Then I remembered his laughter at my funeral, his hands pushing me down the stairs, the way he'd destroyed my parents. I yanked my wrist free. "Your circumstances don't give you the right to use people, and they definitely don't give you the right to touch me without permission." "You're going to regret this," he said quietly. "Everyone thinks you're so perfect, so untouchable. But I see the real you, and I could ruin you." "Try it," I said coldly. "See what happens when you come after someone who knows every move you're going to make before you make it." He stepped back, something like fear flickering across his face. "What does that mean?" But I was already in my car, driving away, watching him shrink in my rearview mirror. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. 2 days later, Emma came running up to me before first period, her face pale. "Lily, have you seen what people are saying online?" My stomach dropped. "What?" She showed me her phone. Someone had created a fake social media account in my name and was posting increasingly disturbing content. Claims that I'd been bullying scholarship students, that I'd paid for my grades, that I'd had inappropriate relationships with teachers. Every post was designed to destroy my reputation, and they were all being shared and commented on by half the school. Ryan Mitchell's revenge. In my past life, I would have panicked. I would have let him comfort me through the crisis he'd created, positioning himself as my hero. That's how predators worked. Create the problem, provide the solution, make yourself indispensable. But I wasn't the naive girl I'd been before. I was a 28-year-old woman with business experience and a decade of painful lessons under her belt. "Call my lawyer," I told Emma calmly, pulling out my phone. "His name is Mr. Peterson. Tell him I need a cease and desist prepared immediately, and I want school administrators and local police notified about cyberbullying and defamation." "Your lawyer?" Emma looked shocked. "Lily, is that really necessary? Maybe we should just handle it," I finished. "Trust me, Emma, this is exactly what needs to happen." While Emma made the call, I made my own. My father's head of IT security was someone I'd worked with extensively in my past life before Ryan had forced me to quit the family business. "David, it's Lily Jiang. I need you to trace the IP address of a fake social media account. Yes, I know I'm in high school. Just trust me on this." Within an hour, David had traced the account to a computer at the public library, specifically to a session accessed using Ryan Mitchell's library card. Amateur. By the end of the school day, Ryan was called to the principal's office along with his parents. I was there too, with my parents, Mr. Peterson, our lawyer, and a detective from the local cybercrime unit. Ryan's face went white when he saw the evidence. He tried to deny it, tried to claim his library card had been stolen, but the library's security cameras showed him clearly at that computer, creating those posts. "This is cyberbullying, defamation, and harassment," Detective Morrison said grimly. "Young man, you're looking at serious consequences." "I didn't mean anything by it." Ryan's composure finally cracked. She's been stuck up, acting like she's too good for me, and I wanted to teach her a lesson." His mother gasped. His father looked crushed. "Teaching someone a lesson through systematic harassment and lies?" Mr. Peterson's voice was ice. "That's not youthful indiscretion. That's calculated malice." Ryan turned to me, his eyes pleading now, all his careful mask stripped away. "Lily, please, tell them you don't want to press charges. I'll apologise. I'll leave you alone. I'll transfer schools. Whatever you want." I looked at him. Really looked at him. This boy who would grow into the man who murdered me. This predator who'd been planning to use and destroy me for his own gain. "No," I said simply. "You need to learn that actions have consequences, that people aren't toys for you to manipulate when you want something, and that no amount of charm or sob stories will protect you when you hurt others deliberately." The principal cleared her throat. "Mr. Mitchell, you're suspended pending a full investigation. If the charges stand, you'll likely be expelled and face criminal prosecution as a minor." As Ryan was led away, he turned back to me one last time. The look in his eyes wasn't apologetic anymore. It was pure hatred. Good. Let him hate me from a distance. Let him learn that I wasn't prey, but the situation wasn't over. Not quite. 3 days later, Ryan's mother showed up at my house. She was a tired-looking woman in her 40s, wearing a worn coat and clutching a purse that had seen better days. My mother answered the door, and I heard Mrs. Mitchell's voice carrying up to my room. "Please, Mrs. Zhang, I just need 5 minutes with Lily. Ryan made a terrible mistake, but he's not a bad boy. Our family, we can't afford for him to get expelled. His scholarship is his only chance at a future." Part of me, the part that had once been kind and empathetic, wanted to help. But I remembered Ryan's laughter at my funeral. I remembered Victoria Hastings talking about the insurance money. I remembered my parents' devastated faces. I walked downstairs. "Mrs. Mitchell, I'm sorry you're in this situation." Hope flickered across her face. "Then you'll drop the charges? You'll tell the school it was just a misunderstanding?" "No," I said gently but firmly. "Your son didn't make a mistake. He made a choice. He chose to create fake accounts. He chose to spread lies about me. He chose to try to destroy my reputation because I refused to date him. Those weren't accidents. They were calculated attacks." "He's just a boy," she pleaded. "One mistake shouldn't ruin his entire life." "And I'm just a girl," I replied. "Why should his one mistake be allowed to ruin mine? Why is his future more important than mine?" Mrs. Mitchell had no answer for that. "I'm sorry your son is facing consequences," I continued. "I really am. But maybe this will teach him something important before he hurts someone even worse in the future. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the full weight of their choices." As she left, I felt Emma's hand slip into mine. She'd been standing in the doorway, listening to everything. "That was hard," she said softly. "Yes." I squeezed her hand. "But necessary." 3 weeks later, I stood in the school auditorium for an emergency assembly. Principal Davies looked grave as she addressed the student body. "I want to talk to you all about cyberbullying, harassment, and the serious consequences of online behaviour," she began. The investigation had uncovered more than just Ryan's attacks on me. Once they started looking, they found a pattern. He'd targeted other girls too, girls who'd rejected him or who he perceived as threats. Jessica Thompson, the girl who turned him down before me, had been receiving anonymous threatening messages for months. A scholarship student named Priya Kumar had been tormented with classist attacks after she'd outscored him on a math test. There were 5 victims in total. Ryan Mitchell wasn't just a gold digger. He was a systematic abuser who'd been flying under the radar because his victims had been too scared or embarrassed to come forward. Until now. Ryan Mitchell has been expelled, Principal Davies announced. Furthermore, due to the severity and patterns of his behaviour, he's been charged with multiple counts of cyberstalking and harassment. He will not be returning to Westwood Academy. The auditorium erupted in whispers. I sat quietly, Emma on one side and Priya on the other. We'd all given our statements. We'd all stood together. After the assembly, Jessica approached me hesitantly. Lily, thank you. I was too scared to report what he'd been doing to me. When I heard you'd pressed charges, I finally found the courage to come forward too. Thank me? I shook my head. You're the brave one. Speaking up is always harder than staying silent. Will you tell us something? Priya asked quietly. How did you know? How did you see through him so quickly when the rest of us took so long? I thought about my answer carefully. I guess I just asked myself, if someone truly cared about me, would they respect my no? Would they accept my boundaries? Or would they push, manipulate, and punish me for having my own thoughts and feelings? Ryan failed every one of those tests, Jessica said softly. Yes, he did. A month later, I finally did something I'd been putting off. I opened the shoebox at the back of my closet and pulled out that stupid love letter, the one I'd written to Ryan Mitchell in my past life, the one that had started everything. I read it now, cringing at the desperate, naive words. The way I'd poured out my heart to someone I barely knew, someone who'd never deserved a single word of affection. Then I tore it up slowly, deliberately, watching each piece flutter into my trash can like ash from a fire. But that wasn't enough. I pulled out my journal, the one I'd been keeping since my rebirth, and began to write a new letter, not to Ryan, but to myself. Dear past Lily, you thought love meant sacrifice. You thought if you just gave enough, tried enough, loved enough, he would cherish you. You thought making yourself smaller would make him love you more. You were wrong. Love isn't sacrifice, it's partnership. It isn't diminishment, it's growth. And real love never asks you to destroy yourself to prove your worth. You deserved better than Ryan Mitchell. You deserved someone who celebrated your success instead of feeling threatened by it. Someone who encouraged your education instead of sabotaging it. Someone who protected you instead of plotting your murder. But most importantly, you deserved to love yourself enough to walk away the first time someone disrespected you. I'm living the life you should have lived. I'm going to Cambridge. I'm going to take over the family business. I'm going to be successful and happy and free. And if I ever find love again, it will be with someone who adds to my life instead of subtracting from it. Someone who sees my strength as beautiful, not threatening. This is your second chance, and I promise you, I won't waste it. Love, future Lily. I closed the journal and looked at myself in the mirror. 18 years old, with the wisdom of 28 and a future that was entirely my own. 6 months later, I received my acceptance letter from Cambridge University. Full scholarship, early admission to their business programme. Emma got into Columbia. We planned to visit each other during holidays, to stay best friends despite the distance. My parents were proud beyond words. My father even started teaching me about the pharmaceutical business, preparing me to take over someday. And Ryan Mitchell? The last I heard, he'd moved to another state with his family. The charges had resulted in probation and mandatory counselling. His scholarship was revoked. His future, the one he'd tried to build on the backs of vulnerable girls, was in ruins. I should have felt guilty, but I didn't. I felt free. One afternoon, I was cleaning out my locker before graduation when I found something wedged in the back. A small envelope, yellowed and worn. I opened it and my breath caught. It was the original love letter, the real one from my past life. Somehow it existed here, in this timeline, though I'd never delivered it. A reminder, a warning, a symbol of everything I'd escaped. I walked out to the school courtyard, where a small group of students had gathered for a pre-graduation bonfire, a tradition of burning old papers and homework to celebrate freedom. Emma saw me approaching and grinned. "Got something to burn?" "Yeah," I held up the letter, something that should have burned a long time ago. I walked to the fire and held the letter over the flames. For a moment, I saw it all again. The naive girl I'd been, the monster I'd almost married, the life that had ended in murder and betrayal. Then I let go. The letter caught fire, curling and blackening until it was nothing but ash rising into the sky. "What was that?" Emma asked. "A mistake I never made," I said, smiling. "In this life, anyway." She linked her arm through mine and we watched the fire together, two best friends on the edge of a future full of possibility. I'd been given an impossible gift, a second chance at life, and I'd used it not just to save myself, but to stop a predator before he could destroy anyone else. Some people might call it revenge. I called it justice, and it felt like freedom. Epilogue. 5 years later, I stood in my corner office at Jung Pharmaceuticals, looking out over the city skyline. Cambridge had been everything I dreamed of and more. I'd graduated top of my class, built relationships with industry leaders, and returned home ready to help my father expand the business. We'd grown by 40% in just 3 years. I'd spearheaded our expansion into affordable medications, creating programs that helped low-income families access life-saving drugs. The business was thriving, and more importantly, it was doing good. Emma had become a successful journalist, recently winning an award for her investigative series on domestic violence. We still talked every week, still visited each other whenever we could. My parents were healthy, happy, and proud. Everything I'd fought for in my past life and failed to protect was safe in this one. As for Ryan Mitchell, I'd stopped following his story years ago. He wasn't worth my energy or attention. But Emma had sent me a news article a few months back. Ryan had been arrested again, this time for insurance fraud in a different state. Some people never learned. But I had. I'd learned that the greatest revenge wasn't destroying your enemy. It was building a life so full, so successful, so joyful that they became irrelevant. It was protecting the people you loved and stopping predators before they could hurt others. I'd learned that second chances were precious, that intuition should be trusted, and that being kind didn't mean being weak. Most importantly, I'd learned that I didn't need a love letter to define my worth. I didn't need someone else's validation to know I was valuable. I was Lily Zhang, daughter, friend, CEO, survivor, and I'd rewritten my own story, one choice at a time. The love letter I once wrote to Ryan Mitchell no longer existed in any timeline that mattered. Because in this life, the only person I needed to love, truly love, was myself. And that was the sweetest revenge of all.